Hello and welcome to the Star Pubs and Bars delivery sessions with me, Andre from Delivery Insider. We're going to explore the wonderful world of takeaway and delivery and help you to understand how you can make it work for you. So let's get cracking. So here we go. First of all, a bit about me. I have spent over 20 years in hospitality, working for big pub companies and restaurant businesses. In the last few years, I also worked for Wagamama and ran their delivery arm and grew that to a massive £45 million net business in just under 2 years. Helped them develop multi-award winning packaging and worked with a number of brands since then as well to help launch successful delivery brands. And so what we do now at Delivery Insider is all in that world of helping people navigate through the confusing world of delivery and make sure that it works for them and is profitable for them. So, first question for you guys that you're probably thinking is, should you be doing delivery or takeaway as part of your business offer? And it's a bit different in pubs, but one thing you have to think about is at the moment, the takeaway market is growing at speed. So here's some numbers on the delivery revenue in the UK, and this is billions of pounds, and it was growing nicely at sort of 13-14% in the last couple of years, but 2020 projections have already seen that number is expected to be 22% growth, a massive jump year on year in the growth that we're expected to see in the takeaway market. So this is a train that's moving very fast, and one that if we're going to try to get onto, we will probably want to get on that pretty quickly. So I always try to help people think about who can do delivery or takeaway and who does it work for now. And you'll know most of these brands. So we know that it works for restaurants, the big brands like Wagamama and Nando's. We know that it works in fast food. We know that it works for grab and go, and all these places have really successful delivery and takeaway businesses. Interestingly, you may not know, it also works in the desserts world as well. And the desserts brand like Creams and Caspers have carved out a really strong niche in the world of delivery. And you also may or may not know that grocery has also come to the platforms like Aldi and Co-op are also now delivering via Deliveroo and Uber. And that opens up this whole world of last minute ordering, getting your food and your essentials as quickly as you possibly can via an app. But the question you might be thinking is, yeah, but can it actually work for pubs? Well, over the last few months, we've certainly seen an uprising of pubs using takeaway and delivery services. So the likes of Toby Carvery, you can get a roast from a Toby Carvery on delivery now. Pubs are doing some really nice gastro type food offer out there. There are some pubs who have developed something called virtual brands. We'll talk more about that more later, but the pubs have created a brand for their burger offering, and they're called that, this example is from M&B, and it's called Ruby Jeans. And you'll also see companies like Prime Minister, which are actually operating out of some pub company kitchens, and they're delivering to a local environment with their pies as well. So there are operators doing this and doing this really well. The question I get asked a lot is delivery and takeaway going to take away from my eat-in sales? So does it cannibalize? Does it take away your current customers who are coming into pub to dine with you? Well, my challenge to that is if you've already decided that you're staying in for the night, then your decision isn't about, shall I go out or not? It's which cuisine do I want? So primarily people are thinking, I'm on the sofa for the night, I've just got to choose what food I want. So at that point, if we're not in the mix and we're not on the apps and we're not listed in the places where people can order from us, then we've got no chance of getting the sale. And we're pushing the sale to all the people who are going to be live on those platforms. What can you sell on delivery? Well, you can sell beer. And lots of people do sell a bit of beer, and there's a brand there, We Brought Beer, who do lots of delivery of and takeaway of beer and alcoholic drinks. But really, food is the main attraction. Food is the thing that sells the most on delivery platforms. I share this because I find this really interesting. Here's a chart that shows every cuisine on Deliveroo ranked by the average order volume and the popularity. So on the right-hand side of that chart, you'll see really popular cuisine types like pizza and burgers. But on the top left, you're also seeing tapas and seafood, which command a really high price but are less popular. So the challenge for us is, how do we fit into all that landscape? What are the cuisine types that we want to bring to market and make sure that we can feel that we've got a chance of making some sales and profit from? So understanding what cuisine types are available in your area is a great start point to think about what you should be offering on these services in takeaway and in delivery to make sure that you're finding your niche and you're able to fulfill a gap which is desired and wanted from the local people around you. How does it work? Well, takeaway and click and collect works in a certain way. So you'll see that, and let's talk you through this. Takeaway, in simple terms, can be straightforward and something you could turn on very quickly. So takeaway, you'd need to create a menu. You'd advertise that on your social media and via your website. And then you can take orders by phone. And then you agree a collection time with a customer. You take payment over the phone, and then you make the food, and then the customer picks up the food when they are ready and when you've agreed that time for collection. So in principle, you could set that up very quickly, taking phone orders of takeaway offer on food, and you can manually manage that. And that is one option for you today to do today at relatively low cost. The second option for you is to help automate some of that process is to take on a click and collect service. And that automates a bunch of these areas like the ordering by phone, the collection time and the payment, and it puts it into the click and collect world of the customer ordering online via their phone or via their laptop, and then the order coming through to a tablet in your pub so you can see what orders are coming in and for when, and then you make the food and the customer still picks it up. So that is an option available to you to try and use a provider who can give you an online service to take the food orders, and then they'll serve you those orders, they'll manage the payment, and they pay you at the end of the week, and then your food, you make it and the customer picks it up. That might be a way that you can automate and simplify the whole process for your team members who are currently taking phone orders and trying to manage that and manually give the orders to the kitchen, etc. Costs for the world of takeaway and click and collect. You could set up a takeaway business today for actually zero cost, because if you're managing it on the phone with your team, then there's no reason why you can't do that now. Of course, you've got to buy yourself some packaging that you need to put the food in, but in terms of tech costs, you can manage this right now with your process and what you've got inside the pub. Now, if you want to add a click and collect service, which digitizes some of this stuff and lets the tech take care of it, then there may be a subscription cost or a small commission with one of those providers, and they usually ask you to use a tablet, which you need to buy, or if you might have one lying around, you can use an old tablet and just have that ready, which the orders come into, so you can see what comes in at any one time. That's connected up to your Wi-Fi, and then you can see the orders live and give the orders to the kitchen and get them to prepare them just in time. There are a bunch of click and collect providers out there. I've given you a few examples with these logos here, but some offer a subscription model, some charge a small commission on each order. Finding the right one for you, it will be relevant to what you need, but there's a bunch of these out there at the moment, and there's opportunities to work with these people right now. How that works is the customers will order via a link on your website. You'd put a link on your own website or via your own social media. The link goes straight through to the page, which is built for you by one of these providers. The orders come into a tablet when the customer's placed an order, and the customer collects the order at the pub at the front door. And the benefit of all this as well is you get the customer data. So you can get their email address and their name and their phone number. You can put that into your database, and at a later date, you can contact them again and say, oh, why don't you come in to see us at Christmas, or you come in on Father's Day, Mother's Day. You've got that customer data to re-engage with that customer on another occasion. If we think about the world of delivery, then that's slightly different, but again, you're going to need to create a menu that works online. The customers order online. The order comes into a tablet, just like it did with click and collect. You make the food, but then the driver will pick it up at the set time that the customer has asked for the food to be made by. And the driver time will appear on the tablet at what time that driver is going to come and collect the food. And then the driver then takes the food off to the customer's house, and the customer eats the food and gives you a rating, and all the payment happens in the background. And again, you get paid weekly through that. Costs of doing delivery. You generally pay a commission for delivery services. So with the likes of Deliveroo, Just Eat and Uber, the commission is based on the value of the total order, and that is the gross value of that order that the customer pays. The commission is usually between 20 and 40%. That's the range that is currently in the market. You might get some variance on that, but it's usually somewhere in the middle of there is where most people are getting their commissions now. You'll need to have photos of every dish. You'll probably need photos for your click and collect site anyway, but having photos of each dish, good quality, make sure those photos look amazing. You want people to look at that food and think, wow, I've got to taste that. So have good photos of your dishes. The tablet is usually included in the deal that you do with each provider, but otherwise there's no other setup cost. So because it's commission based, actually it's relatively easy for you to set up and get going with. There we go. In terms of delivery partners, you've heard of the likes of Deliveroo, Just Eat and Uber. Generally, the benefit of doing this is that people search by cuisine type. So if they're looking for burgers, they'll type in burgers in the top of the search on these apps, and then they will find maybe your pub in that list if you're selling burgers. And then that opens you up to a much bigger audience than you could just get hold of just by hoping that people come to your website alone. So the benefit of this is the marketplace that they provide has lots of people shopping, and you will pick up orders that you might not have got previously because people are just searching and they don't quite know what they want. But when they found some cuisine types that they want, then you appear in that list, and it gives you a much better chance of getting a sale. Now, check which of these delivery partners are operating in your area. Most of them will be operating everywhere now, but be aware that Just Eat in some places doesn't have drivers everywhere. So do some discovery on working that out before you go too much further with that. When you have found out who's working in your area, check similar food and pricing to your offer to make sure that you know you're priced competitively and that your food actually has a gap in the market in the cuisine niche that you can tap into. The commissions for delivery, as we've mentioned, are a little bit higher, but most of these providers also offer a click and collect service as well, which they will offer at a lower commission rate than the delivery service. Most of these also have a self-service tool for building and managing your own menu and pricing as well. So you can go onto the back of the website and change your menu, change your pricing, change your pictures, and instantly update that so the customer sees exactly what you want them to see. And you get paid weekly by these providers as well, and that comes straight through to your bank account, so you know that the cash is coming through very quickly back to you. What's the sales potential like for delivery and takeaway? Well, this graph on the chart here gives you an idea. This is pretty average pub restaurant in terms of when their delivery sales come in. And you can see that the takeaway demand generally peaks on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays as well. Now, the benefit there is, of course, Friday and Saturday you're busy, so you have to think about how can you make sure when you're in the non-COVID world, how does a driver come in through the pub, or is there a back door to the kitchen they could come to so you don't interrupt the service? And then the benefit of Sundays is Sundays are really strong in the delivery and takeaway world. As you probably know, you probably ordered a Chinese or a pizza to be delivered on a Sunday evening. But pubs are generally quieter on Sunday evenings. So this gives you the opportunity to drive some sales in some of those quieter time slots. And there are others across the week as well, where you're picking up sales where you wouldn't normally be able to tap into some of those sales. So there have been occasions with sites that have managed to double their food sales through delivery, some even more than that. But the average, I would say, is that you would expect to see an extra 10 to 20% food sales on top of what you do today. Now, of course, every site varies in terms of how much they're doing, but 10 to 20% extra sales is also pretty good and not to be sniffed at. What I've done here is I've created for you a ready reckoner on your how much money you can make out of delivery and takeaway. My view on this is that delivery sales and takeaway sales are largely incremental. So they usually come at no risk to your core business sales. And because you've already paid for your rent and your utilities, and in a lot of cases, you've already got kitchen staff working, the incremental cost is actually only of the extra food that you do. So in this example here, an extra £1,200 of sales per week will drive you somewhere in the region of £15,000 of extra revenue extra profit per year. So that is worth having if you really want to go for this. This Ready Reckoner that you see on screen now, I've built this as a rough average for an average pub, but you'll be sent this as part of these videos and you can change some of these figures. So if you want to change any of the yellow figures here to suit your pub, so you might change the weekly sales, you might change the GP, you might change how much labor, you might change your establishment costs so that you can understand exactly what is right for you, establishment being rent and rates. Then once you understand all that, it will drop out at the bottom an EBITDA profit number for you to work out exactly how much profit roughly you will think you'll be able to make out of driving some delivery sales. In this example, we've used 10% extra delivery sales here. There may be more than 10% based on what you're currently doing, but that gives you a good idea as to how much profit you think you could make on delivery and takeaway based on using this model. So have a look at this model and start to play with the numbers in yellow, and it will drop out at the bottom exactly how much profit you will be able to take and plan to take from delivery and takeaway. I've also done another model which shows profit from delivery alone. So what that shows is if you have not got a restaurant open or a pub open, like in some lockdown times, then you might need to attribute some more costs from the P&L into your sales and profit from delivery. Now, I would argue that this gives you the ability to claw back some revenue because you've got some revenue already, some costs already being spent on things like rent and rates and utilities, whereas this gives you the chance to claw some of those sales back to be able to pay for some of your ongoing fixed costs. Now, think creatively about your labour. What can you do on your own? What can you use in terms of flexible furlough labour as well if we're in a lockdown period? And those are the things which might help you to try and drive a little bit of extra sale and get some extra profit through the business in these tougher times, particularly when we're being forced into lockdown. But have a look at the spreadsheet. The Ready Reckoner will allow you to change those numbers and make that work for you and help you to see what the profit could look like for your particular pub. Now, as an overview, I like to help people understand, could you do this? Can you do this? Well, I think there's an opportunity. This is relatively easy to set up. There's extra revenue that comes through this stream, so that makes a lot of sense to try and get some extra revenue. And I also think the added benefit here is it's a great way to stay in touch with your customers, particularly the ones that can't come to you because they might be shielding, they might be staying home. If it's a cold day and they're struggling to come out, actually delivery fulfills a service and actually means that you're still part of that community and you're helping your local customers still enjoy your pub food and your offering. So I would ask you to have a think about what food do you want to serve? What food will work well for takeaway and delivery? Think about the packaging, think about the presentation, think about the food that will travel well when it has to travel from the pub 10 minutes to someone's house. Think about the operational flow in your outlet. Things like the tablet, where does that go? Who puts the orders into the tills? Who tells the kitchen what the order is and when they need to make it for, and how you can manage that process around that whole area too. Think about your staffing levels. How many people do you need in the kitchen and how many people do you need to be able to coordinate front of house, whether that's using the tills or putting the packaging, the bags up together for the drivers or for the customers. How many people do you need to be able to make that work for you? Think about a pickup area. So are there areas in the pub which are naturally easy for a customer to get to, that they could pop in, pick up their food and take it away and go on their way? If you're in normal times, is there a waiting area while they're waiting for the last couple of things to be finished and made? And, you know, would they want to buy a beer while they're waiting for that as well? And then think about the delivery providers. Which ones and how many do you want to work with? And then what will suit you out of those things. Look at the cuisine types on those providers and see where the gap is in the market for you to be able to shine and get the best from them. Think about driver management. Where do the drivers go? Do they come to the kitchen? Do they come through the pub? Where are you wanting the drivers to be situated as part of your whole setup? So think about all of those things, and those are the kind of things that will help you understand whether it's worth you getting your head into and making the most from delivery. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for pubs in delivery. It's relatively untapped at the moment, but there is lots of customers who would love delivery food and takeaway food from your pub. At the back here, I've put a jargon buster, which describes all of these terms which you might hear in the delivery world. You can read this at your will, but if anybody ever says to you, oh, well, there's a virtual brand down there, then you know you can come to this chart and see that a virtual brand is a brand that doesn't have a physical presence but only exists online. And these are the terms which you might get told about or spoken to about in the delivery and takeaway world, whereas actually some of these things are not as scary as they first seem. In our next video, we're going to talk about creating the right menu for you and helping build that menu and think about all the tips and tricks and challenges around how to put together the correct menu. So join me for the next video and we'll find out more about finding the best way to create the right menu for you.